Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, joining me is my Buddy Reads co-host, Classy Green. We'll be discussing The Wives by Tarryn Fisher. Stay tuned. Today's episode is sponsored in part by audiobooks.com. Audiobooks.com now has 175,000 titles and 1.2 million podcasts. New customers get 3 free audiobooks comprised of 1 premium credit and 2 VIP titles. Use our promo code Shelf Addiction, spelled as one word, when you sign up at audiobooks.com. Again, our promo code is Shelf Addiction. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and thank you for downloading this month's Buddy Read discussion featured here on the Shelf Addiction podcast. If you're new here, every week we get bookish with book discussions, book reviews, shelf bites, and more. If you're wondering what is a Buddy Read, this is a feature where Classy and I select a thriller or mystery title that we both are interested in. Then we have a candid conversation about that book or audiobook. We even discuss it in our Facebook group, Shelf Addiction Official, during a live chat. So grab a glass of wine, a cocktail, a cup of tea or coffee, whatever your drink of choice is, and settle in for this fun discussion. As always with book chats, there is a spoiler alert in effect, so you've been warned. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with your book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That will really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing it. The uncut video version of this podcast is available now on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including this podcast after show. If you'd like to support the show in other ways, please consider doing that by supporting our sponsors. By supporting them, you are supporting us. Check out all of the sponsors at shelfaddiction.com/sponsors. If you've read the book or listened to the audiobook and would like to weigh in on this conversation, be sure to join the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official. I hope to hear your thoughts on this discussion. Links for everything I've mentioned are in the show notes, so let's get going. So we've got a lot to cover, so we're going to jump right on in. Joining me is the Buddy Read feature co-host, Classy Green. Welcome back, Classy.
Hi, Tamara. Thanks for having me again.
Of course, girlfriend. So before we start the discussion, if you're interested in the after show, head on over to Patreon to watch it. It's available now. So you definitely need to go over and join so you can watch the video version of this and check out the after show. Today we are discussing the audiobook version of The Wives by Tarryn Fisher, narrated by Lauren Fortgang, which she's actually a very good narrator. The length is 9 hours even. The release date is 12/30/2019. And who is I think it's Macmillan Audio, I think.
I believe it is.
That down. Yeah, I think it's Macmillan Audio. If not, I'll correct it in the notes because I didn't write it down. Boom, boom, boom.
No.
So
Happy New Year.
I know. Happy New Year, right? So if you don't mind, would you share the synopsis with us, please?
Certainly. Here. Thursday's husband, Seth, has 2 other wives. She's never met them, and she doesn't know anything about them. She agreed to this unusual arrangement because she's so crazy about him. But one day she finds something that tells a very different and horrifying story about the man she married. What follows is one of the most twisted, shocking thrillers you'll ever read. And I wasn't going to read this line, Tamara, but I have to because I know we'll have to discuss it.
Okay.
You'll have to grab a copy to find out why. Really? That's what you guys put in the synopsis? Yeah.
Oh.
I'm like, you know what? And then I thought about it in retrospect, and I'm like, if we would have read that, we probably would have been like, no.
What?
It's like a sign, isn't it?
It is a sign.
You'll have to grab a copy to find out why.
Okay. Oh, and I have to just say this as well, which is also annoying me. So on Scribd, it says Harper Audio is the publisher, but then on Audible, it says Harlequin. Harlequin
Really?
Audio is the publisher. I'm like, well, which is right?
Huh.
Isn't that weird?
That's very weird. And I thought
Harlequin.
Um,
Maybe Harlequin is a part of
oh,
Harper.
I wonder because she does, she has done romance. I wonder if they got it mixed up too.
I bet you Scribd has it right. It's probably Harper Audio.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the bottom of, but you're doing audio. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Graydon House is her publisher. Wow.
Where did you read that synopsis from too? Because Scribd has a different ending to that synopsis.
Ooh, this is Goodreads.
Oh,
you want to read? Do you want to read the script? I know. That's
Girl,
what I thought.
no. I'll just say the last line in Scribd is, "And who is the mysterious third wife?" That's how it ends.
So they're both pretty crappy.
Yeah. Dun dun dun. Okay.
And you know how we are with synopsis, but we digress.
Yes,
we'll get to that later.
A little bit. Yeah. Yes. So. Okay. Well, the good thing about this book, I feel like if we were to both talk about pacing, we probably both wouldn't have issues. Well, at least I didn't. Let me speak for myself. I didn't have any pacing issues. It was pretty fast as far as getting through it. What did you think about the pacing?
I got through it pretty easily. Speaking of pacing, I kind of paced myself so it could be fresh in my mind, but there wasn't a struggle. I did find maybe midway through the book, I felt like it kind of dragged a little bit where she started giving us, I felt like a bunch of irrelevant information, filler stuff, and possibly it was just things to describe Thursday's character or to make us feel the delusion of Thursday. But I just felt like, oh my God, really? Why is this important? Why is she just, I just felt like she was just throwing all kind of stuff at us. Like, okay, I got it. It was at that point, like when she went to Regina's house and then she went to the realist, back to Hannah's house and the real estate agent was there and not Hannah. And then she snuck into the abandoned house. And I was just like, okay.
There's a lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, it was a pretty easy read. It wasn't, super long. Like you said, it was 9 hours and it went pretty fast.
Yeah. I would like to talk about Thursday's name for a minute. So at first, I got to say because the husband, Seth, kept saying, they would both refer to Monday and Tuesday as the other wives. So right. I thought Thursday was like a nickname as well, but instead it's her real name.
Yes.
And I didn't figure that out until she awoke in the hospital and the doctor's like, Thursday, do you know who you are?
Right. And I mean, the author never even, she held on to that bit of information until that point, which was quite interesting. I'll give her, a little point for that, but she held on to that the whole time. That was not her day of the week, but her, the day of the week that she saw Seth, because I think you did mention that Monday was seen on Monday, which was, I don't know which wife, and Hannah. Tuesday, Hannah, third wife, and then Tuesday was the first wife. So
Regina,
yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought I did too. I thought those were just the days of the week that he saw them, and they kind of use those maybe as like little code names.
That's what I thought too. But I know he used them on her because he didn't want to talk about the other wives, really.
Yeah.
He wants to keep their names out of it. So until he started saying the names, which is weird like that. Okay. So, I'm jumping ahead. There's a lot going on. And the author, I guess she did her best. I hope it was her best, trying to, make us just as confused as Thursday was.
You felt that too?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did write that down. Like, if that was her goal in this whole book, is to make us feel just as delusional as Thursday did, mission accomplished.
Yeah. Because the whole time, I got to be honest. So at first, when I started this book, I took it at face value. I took it as, Thursday is the woman telling this story. It's her point of view. The cover has 3 women on it. The name of the book is The Wives. So I took it at face value.
Exactly. Right.
Right.
A plural marriage.
Yes. So at first I'm like, well, I'm curious to see what this is about. And when Thursday starts talking, telling us basically how jealous she is, how she does all the extra things that the other wives won't do. She's the perfect wife, the wife the fun wife, the sexy wife, the cook dinner for all the things that keeps him coming back. I wanted to just stab her myself. Like, what is wrong with you?
Oh yeah, the pink petals, the pink roses, they remind you of my pink lip. I was like, really?
The seductress she was trying to be.
Yeah, she really was.
The dirty sex and then the sexy sex. And I'm like, oh, girl, get out of here, please.
Right. So I'm thinking if this is a polygamous, sister wives kind of marriage, that's like, oh, she's that wife. Because,
that wife.
Because, his religion didn't allow him to drink, but he drank with her.
Right.
I was
he
like,
breaks the rules with me. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she got off on making him do things he wasn't, I guess, that weren't in his nature, supposedly.
Right. Yeah, she was doing the most. And, then she would talk about the other wives. So, what Tuesday did, and all she did was, make pizza or order pizza. She didn't even make pizza. And I can't remember.
Tuesday's the career wife. How dare she not take care of her man?
Yeah. And the funny thing is that you were, Thursday is a nurse. And nurses work long hours. She worked at a hospital, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm just like, so, ma'am, you're a career woman too, who's quite busy. So why are you downing women? But, that's something too that I want to tag in. We talk about, later that, the women thing, women against women. But yeah, we're talking about plural marriages now.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, I think she did a redoing. Trying to think here, like, and I've watched Sister Wives before. Have you watched Sister Wives?
I have not. No.
Okay, and I haven't watched it in a long time. So I was trying to get that feel while reading this book, like. At one point, the older wives, the wives who had been together for a while, when the show started, they had already been, sister wives for years. So they had already developed a relationship where, where they were taking care of each other's kids. And on this day, they did this, and that. But in this story, like she was saying, they weren't that traditional polygamous relationship. But I do remember when I watched Sister Wives, he brought in, Cody was his name. Just look greasy looking. He was like, ugh. But anyway,
you know what? Cody, these dudes are always gross looking, aren't they? Like, why?
Aren't they? And I'm like, why'd y'all get Cody? And then I'm thinking too, where in the hell and I digress, where the hell do you get all this money to have 3 wives and like 11 children? I got 1 husband and 3 kids and barely could take care of them.
Right.
I couldn't take. So, but anyway, they brought in a new wife, and then you begin to see the dynamics change. So I kind of got, while reading this, I was like, oh, this is what that is. And she was younger, and I think she wanted to get pregnant. And at first they were all welcoming her, come on in. And then she was the new, what? She was that new stuff. She was that new.
She's the shiny new toy.
Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, the horns came out. I was like, ooh. But I mean, I think it got better. But at first, it was like, ooh, he's spending too much time. And they want a new baby. And I'm like, sorry, ladies, you signed the contract. You agreed to this.
Because in this case, like, I feel like because of how the women are acting, they're in this, multiple marriage situation, or how did you call it? What was it called? What kind of
plural marriage
plural marriage?
or
But they
polygamy?
are
Yeah.
not polyamorous at all.
No.
So they're like individuals in a single relationship with this guy. He just has many relationships.
Yes. I
Which
know.
of
And it's
course
like when
would
we
bring
talk
out the
about this.
clause, you know?
Yes, it would. It definitely would. And it's like the way we have to talk about this book is like we got to get to that first half before. And it's like, how do we do it without revealing what really happened? And it's like, okay, go slow.
I know, and it's hard to not just jump into like what exactly is happening.
Right. So I'm trying to go slow and I'm like, wait, I can't say that yet.
Yeah.
I mean, we give spoilers, but with this one, we got to take our time.
Yeah, we got to get there.
Yeah.
So clearly, you know, we can't see from Hannah and Regina's point of view. We only get Thursdays. So we're taking it. Okay, she says Hannah is, you know, abused and perfect and pregnant and housewife, and that's how she feels about Monday. Tuesday, she wants no kids. She is a lawyer, career woman who has no interest in her husband. And so she's like, where do I fit in? Where is that? And why do I have to feel like I'm the best at everything? Like,
right. Because they're three different women.
Yeah.
And that's what she was saying is like, he has three different tastes. Because, you know, most, like she was saying, most men have a type, but not this guy. You know, Hannah was thin, young, like 10 years his junior, blonde, almost like a beach kind of whatever. And here she is, a nurse. She said she had fuller hips. She was, you know, whatever. But yeah, she was trying to stand out.
And Reggie was like petite, dark haired.
Yep.
Yeah, very short. And I just know, but she did at one point start to wonder, does he have a different personality with each of us? Is he showing different sides to each of us?
Yeah. And I think that probably what came out when she met Hannah and saw the bruises on Hannah's arm. So she assumed he probably was a little aggressive with Hannah, where he never showed that side to her. He was always gentle and just, you know, attentive. But I mean, you see her for however many nights, which I did get confused with the nights because you're like on a Thursday, but he leaves early in the morning. I was like, what was the rotation here?
So it's like he traveled. Some of those days were travel days. So like Wednesday was a travel day and Friday was a travel day. And it seemed like he took a day to himself or something. It was some weird stuff.
Yeah. And I'm like, so I only get one night. But then she mentioned something else in the other book. I mean, not in the other book, but further down. Didn't she say like they had rotations, like so-and-so had so many days? Do you remember that?
It seemed weird. Like, I think when they were talking about like going on a vacation or something, somebody got more days than another person and she wanted her days. It was all like pretty disgusting to me. And I'm trying to be judgment free here, but I could never do that personally myself. I could never have the patience or the tolerance to be in that type of situation where I, or in this case, Thursday, is basically waiting on this dude all week long for a payoff once a week.
Yeah. She's at his beck and call, basically.
Yeah. And eventually she says that. Like, we're the ones catering to you. We're the ones. Right.
Yeah. He doesn't have anything to lose. Everything is perfect for him. They, you know, they've changed their lives for him. He hasn't changed anything. Cause I mean, basically what she lives, we'll go to settings, the setting of the book. She lives in Washington and Seattle, but he lives in Portland for work. And
his two wives are in Portland.
As well. So he travels up to Washington to see her. So, you know, it's like he has it pretty easy.
He does.
it's the women. And then, and that was the thing that I had to struggle with, that, you agreed to this because when she first met him, she was a nursing student studying, and then he takes her out to dinner and says, hey, I'm married. And she got mad and left and didn't talk to him. But then she realized that she really liked him and didn't care if he was married or not, and wanted to be with him. And eventually he divorced Regina to legally marry her, because she was the legal wife.
Mm-hmm.
And Regina was, even though she's the first wife, she wasn't the legal wife. She was the second.
She's the she's the ex-wife.
The ex-wife, right. So, she did think that she had some more perks because she's the legal wife.
Right. Like it was a badge of honor. I'm the legal one. I'm like, girl, okay.
Right.
Okay. If that's what you need to believe.
You're splitting your husband, even though he's legal. You're legal. But, but even the perks that she thought she had, she didn't. Well, she lost a child. Mm-hmm. So
that was why he married her, supposedly, is because his first wife didn't want children and he wanted a family. And so his first wife, according to Thursday, according to Seth, agreed to let him marry her so that they could have children.
Right. They can have this beautiful family.
Yes.
Right.
Which did not come to fruition because she lost the baby.
Yeah, she lost the baby at 5 months, maybe.
Mm-hmm. It was pretty far in.
Right. And then she basically had like a hysterectomy and can no longer have children. So it almost made her, in the book, the way the author writes is as if she's damaged goods, because she cannot, she lost a baby and now she cannot give birth at all. So he decides, since you can't give me what I want. Yeah. Next caller. So he moves on to, he moves on to a new wife,
He does. He does.
He's like, I need something young and fertile.
Yeah. And somehow Thursday gives the permission. She gives the go ahead because she feels guilty that she couldn't give him the child.
I struggle with this, right? Yeah. I was just like, where are these women? Where? But apparently they exist somewhere. That, God. Yeah, I can't give you a baby, but go ahead and find somebody else who can give you a baby. But we can still stay together, though. No, right. But we can still stay together.
No, that's not sexy at all. It's not cute.
Yeah. I'm reading. I'm gonna get to that part, and I'm like, and this was like nominated for the best thriller suspense book on Goodreads or something, right?
Yeah, it was in that category.
Yeah,
but it did not win. It was not even close to the winner. So
no, okay, no, all right,
it wasn't. Okay. It was like lower down the list. It definitely was, because when I went back and looked at the winner, the votes were very different. It was like up here, and then there was So no, this did not get that many votes, honestly.
Good.
Versus what the winner got.
Okay.
The second
all
place.
Right.
But so needless to say, I did not relate to Thursday at all. I could not relate to her in any way. Honestly, the way she was chasing behind Seth and like how angry she was, but she would hide it from him. So he had no clue how angry she really was about things or how disgruntled she felt about him having a third wife.
Right.
Yeah. So
she did.
I'm like, well,
no, she tried to hide because I think she was, from our point of view, she didn't. To show anger would show that she's not the perfect, happy-go-lucky woman that he wants, because she wants to be perfect to him, especially like extra perfect now because she's barren.
Yeah.
So, she doesn't want to show any kind of emotion or anything to make her undesirable. Mm-hmm. But I think she, all of a sudden, it was just like all of a sudden something clicked in her and she was like, I need to know more. Something else is going on. And I was like, yes, please.
I think it was when he got a phone call or something. He got a text message or something. And usually their time is their time and there's no interruptions from the other women. But I think there was like it was a text message or something that she saw.
She saw the receipt in his pocket.
The doctor's office.
Yep, the doctor's office receipt. And that kind of sent her down the rabbit hole of finding out. And it said Hannah on there. And she was like, oh, so that must be, because it was like, what was a doctor's appointment? I don't think it said anything about like an OB or whatever, but she just assumed it was Hannah because of the doctor's appointment. And it was in his pocket. And she found the address and just went there. And I think the second one was Regina. He got a phone call from Regina and it showed up on his phone. And then she went there.
So let's talk about the fiascos of what she did to she was acting crazy. So when she got to Hannah's house, she did not just walk up and introduce herself. She instead acted like she didn't know her. She was acting like kind of lost. So when Hannah was like, oh, can I help you? Do you need some help? And she, so she befriended her under false pretenses.
Yeah. Right. She came to town looking at the house and Hannah thought, that she was possibly a tourist because, people love this house and they ask for tours. They knock on my door and you give them tours. People who knock on your door that you don't know. And that was another thing. She just befriended this stranger who thought your house was lovely. Come on in. I'll show you around.
Who does that?
Even Thursday said, you don't know me. I could be basically a serial killer. I don't think she said that. But you're allowing me in your house. Oh, don't worry about it.
Young and naive Hannah. She's very young. And that is clear. She is much younger than Seth and the rest of them. So he went and found this fresh young thing that don't know anything.
Yeah, right. He was probably her first first love or first one to knock her off her socks. And she just fell head over heels.
Oh, my God.
And he's remodeling this house for us. And we're going to have a baby.
Oh,
I better stop.
Oh.
Are you getting ill over there?
I am getting ill. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the illness.
Do not gag.
It's so gross. I'm like,
you didn't like the way I said that? I was getting really surfy, wasn't it?
I'm like, oh God.
My husband's remodeling.
Oh, like you poor child. You don't know anything.
No. Live long enough, lady. But yeah, she
honestly, Thursday could have stabbed her ass to death and been on her merry way.
Yep. She basically could have. End of story.
Yeah.
Might have been a better ending than what we got.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying. Okay.
Okay. So what's next? So so they proceed to hang out. They go to a dinner.
They exchange phone numbers. They have they have a meal together. I think they text each other. And then I think one moment they had a lunch or a breakfast or something, and she said, "I'm going to take you out for breakfast," because she really kind of wanted to know more about the bruises. I think we mentioned that earlier, that when she did meet Hannah, she noticed that Hannah had bruises on her arm, and Hannah said she fell or she bumped into something. And Thursday said, "Oh, those look like hand marks or fingers." She's like, "No, I bruise easy." Or, I think her husband and her got into an argument and he pulled her or yanked her. And she's like, we got into a little
she
argument.
Didn't admit to the first time. It was the second time.
Right. And she said, "And I bruise easily." And Thursday just went off the deep end with it. And, so then she went to the bathroom and came back and Hannah was gone. And she couldn't get in contact with Hannah at all from there. And then I think that was at the point where she went home. Thursday went home and Seth was there. And it wasn't Thursday, I believe, right? It wasn't a Thursday night. And she was like,
I think she ended up staying in the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And then she went home in the morning and he was there. And she was like, what are you doing here? Like,
right. This is not your day, sir.
And he did text her, like, where are you? And I'm like, oh, and the minute he texted her that, I'm like, he's at her house. And she didn't really answer the question. She kind of was like, I'm busy. So she didn't really answer. I'm like, oh, he's at her house.
Yeah. Because she's like, why is he concerned about where I'm at on a day that's not my day? I was like, shit is about to hit the fan.
Oh, yeah.
And when they got home, I think that's when she confronted him about abusing Hannah, or, that I knew I met Hannah and I know you're abusing her. And that's when they got to the big argument. And this is where the plot twist.
Yes. Now this is where I did not write down because I kind of think I mashed up the plot a little bit. I feel like she reached out to Regina via a dating app prior to this. So she had already started her investigation of Regina.
Yes, she did.
So during this, at the same time, she decided she was going to find Regina, and she does by Googling, searching online. She finds her some other way because she went by Reggie. She didn't go by Regina. She was thinking all kind of things to find this woman.
Yep.
And then she's like, let me go and see if she's on the dating app. So she makes a profile as a man, and she's talking to her as this man, trying to find out, like, and Regina says she's divorced. She says, she wants kids to the guy, quote unquote, the guy. Thursday asked, well, do you want kids?
Yeah. Oh, and I'm like, who do you do that? I mean, I'm not single, but I'm like, do you do that? Like when you first start talking to someone on these dating sites? Like, is that one of those questions?
Well, I don't know. It's been 11 years since I've been on a dating site, but I feel like that is a question that comes up in the first couple of conversations.
Okay.
Because why would you spend weeks talking to someone if you don't want any and they want a family? That's wasting time. So,
all right. Yeah. So that is a valid question.
Yeah, I think
so. And then
the
other thing is the profile that she used was her cousin who was in jail, in prison. I thought that was so funny. She's like, he won't know he's in prison. Yeah. Little does she know prisoners have profiles on. They do. I know. I'm sorry.
So I'm like, I was really disgusted that she went there. I'm like, wow, really? You're doing that? Okay.
Yeah,
I guess
she did. She was doing the most between that, meeting Hannah and befriending her like that. And I'm like, what do you think is going to come out of this by doing this? Oh, I forgot. She's going to look like the best wife to Seth.
Yes, supposedly.
Yeah.
So all that goes down. She wakes up. The plot twist is she's in a hospital. She is.
Yeah, because they got into a fight. He pushed her down.
Fight. Yes, and it's funny because she originally thought it was an accident, but when she started thinking about it, she said, I think he actually shoved me. I feel like she tried to say she slipped, and then she was like, well, wait a minute.
He slammed me down to the floor.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah. But he later said that she was pounding on his chest and he was trying to stop her.
Yeah.
I don't believe shit
I was trying to restrain you.
I don't believe shit he has to say.
Me neither.
He's a lying piece of you know what.
He's a liar.
Yes, he
is a liar. So she's in there and like this is some crazy mess. Like she can't leave. Like they are holding her there.
72-hour hold.
Yeah. Basically. And her husband is nowhere to be seen. He comes eventually one time. And when she tries to call him out on what's happening in front of the staff, like the doctor and somebody else, he's like, what are you talking about? Basically.
Right. Yeah.
He's gaslit her, man.
Yeah, that no, you're crazy. That's not what happened. I'm not your husband. I'm not this and that. That's not, you're delusional, Thursday.
Right. Yeah. Right. So it really felt like 100% he was gaslighting her. So he comes back and comes and picks her up when she leaves, according to Thursday.
Yes.
So
he takes her home.
Yes, he takes her home, and he takes her.
I know,
home.
Isn't this is like one of the toughest podcasts that we had to do, because we do spoilers.
Okay, I just want to rip the Band-Aid off. I just want to rip it off.
And we have
Let's just do it.
So
We've been talking for like 50 minutes. Let's rip it off.
Let's do it.
So apparently this bitch is crazy. She is like legit crazy.
Damn. You just ripped it. You didn't even go slow. You just ripped all the hair off with the Band-Aid.
Yes. She's crazy, and all of this shit is a lie. So she had made up this story in her head.
Yeah.
So like when her father came to pick her up from the hospital, it wasn't
AKA
even
Seth.
AKA Seth. It was her father, not Seth.
Yeah.
Her daddy came and got her. And she told everybody she remembers Seth coming to get her, and that is not who it was.
No.
She says she's the second wife. She is not the wife at all. She's not married to Seth at all.
No. She is the mistress.
Is the mistress.
Twice over.
Twice. Who wants to be the same person's mistress 2 different times? That sounds crazy.
I'm like, he must have a golden, you know what? She whiz. Because
I can't do it.
No, because she basically, so she was the mistress. She was having an affair with Seth while he was married to Regina.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why their marriage broke up. He never married Thursday. He kept dating her. And she got pregnant. And they stayed together. They dated while she was pregnant. And then she lost the baby. And when she lost the baby, he was done with her, basically.
He moved on.
Right. Yeah. And he married, he found Hannah.
Hannah is his wife.
And this witch said, I wrote it down. She didn't care about him marrying Hannah. And that she still wanted to have an affair with him. And this fuckboy said, cool. We can still have an affair. You want to do that? Let's do this. Why are you married to Hannah?
Yeah. So he was cool. He's like, I'll come back. Sure, I'll come back and hang out with you. Mm-hmm. But okay, so we get all of this information about what really happened, what the real truth is, only when her ass is back in the hospital. And she's back in the hospital as a crazy person that she is, because so let's track back to when she gets picked up by quote unquote Seth, aka her father. She thinks Seth is trying to keep her in the house and keep her medicated. So she stops trying to take the medication. She's like hiding that she's not taking the medication.
Right.
Seth is out. I think she drugged him.
Yeah, she crushed up her Ambien.
Yes.
And put it in his drink or something and got away.
Yeah. So she escaped, gets in her car. She's like, I'm going to go talk to, so she can't figure out who she wants to see at first. And then she's decided, I'm going to go see Regina. That was the first stop, right?
Yes.
So she goes
because she missed her appointment with Regina. Because she set an appointment up with Regina to talk about divorce. Because she claimed,
but she missed it because she was in the hospital.
Right.
So then she shows up there looking a hot fucking mess because she just ran out of her house. So she shows up to the office. The lady takes pity on her, puts her on Regina's schedule at lunchtime. And instead of waiting in her car, this girl goes and gets shit-faced at the bar at 8 a.m. or whatever time it was.
Yeah.
Until noon. And then she's just drinking.
So you know that tongue was loose by the time she got to Regina's.
Right. And then she got there late because she had to go get mouthwash and gum and all this other crazy stuff.
Again, that's what, and I think this might have got to this was that point where I was just like, come on, Tarryn, why are you doing us like this?
I know. So she gets there and she starts to talk to Regina, but this whole time Regina knows who she is.
Yeah.
She knows it because somebody called her and told her you were missing and out on the hunt and may come her way.
Yep.
Seth called her.
Yeah.
But that's what makes us think that she was believing that it was Seth because Seth called Regina. But I think the two don't collide. It's like they're not the same because obviously that was her father. But maybe the father called and said, hey, she's gone.
Right.
And then
she's on the loose. Yes.
She's out. And then Seth was like, well, let me call Regina because I know she's going to try to go there.
Right. Yeah. And I do believe it probably was her dad because they kept telling her quit. I think her dad was the one who said quit it with the Seth stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, like when they were at the hospital or something. So,
yeah.
So she went there.
She goes, and then she's like, I know who you are. Let's just get this over with, basically. And the girl's like basically telling her she's crazy.
Yeah. She said
Regina's telling her she's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. He said, Seth told me you were, but I didn't think it was basically this bad. Yeah.
Because she basically says, you know, you stole my husband, basically. And she's like, what are you talking about? And she kept kind of like going off, like, just admit it. Like, tell me the truth. Like, she kept like trying to get her to say what she wanted to hear.
Yeah. And she wouldn't.
And she wouldn't.
No.
So,
not at all.
Yeah. So she ends up leaving unsatisfied, kind of disgruntled with all of that. And she goes in seek of Hannah next.
Yeah. But before that, she gives Regina her cell phone.
Yeah, she does.
You know, because this chick goes and gets burned and all, and I'm just like, who? But I mean, she's not mentally there. Yeah, but she went and got a cell phone because I think she said Seth erased all the information off her regular phone, and she didn't want him to track her. Yeah. So
she went and found, I should also say she went and found a house that was in her name, apparently, in Seth's name. She remembered the code to get in. It was an empty house they were working on because, you know, he's in real estate. So she stays the night there. She wakes up to the phone ringing, and it is Regina.
Another plot twist.
Dun, dun, dun. And so then Regina says, meet me immediately at this diner. So she goes, and Regina tells her this outrageous story.
And I believe this. At this point, I believe this because I was just like, he is the crazy one. I wanted him to be the crazy one so bad. Mm-hmm.
So Regina tells Thursday that she was pregnant and she had a miscarriage too.
Yeah.
And then she's like, so what happened leading into your miscarriage? What was going on? She starts questioning her, but she's like, did you eat or drink anything?
Yeah.
She's feeding her these lines and come to find out, she essentially says, Seth poisoned you because he poisoned me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I lost my baby the same way.
Right.
And I mean, she got technical. She used the name of the tea and what causes contractions. And, you know, I was like, ooh, she was elaborate with this lie.
And she went,
we don't know if it's true or not, but she went there. Yeah.
And she used things that Hannah was insecure about. For example, she said, yeah, that was the tea his mother gave her. You know, and then she just recently found out his parents are dead. Yeah. Like, they're not even alive. And Thursday thinks she's alive. They're all alive. Just she never met them. Right,
because they're giving her cards. They're sending her anniversary cards. They sent her a card, I think, with a baby. Yeah, all this. I was like, so I'm just like, maybe Seth is crazy.
Right. I'm like, maybe he is just gaslighting her and, like, doing all the most.
Because remember, Regina said that Seth's dad had schizophrenia, and she possibly thought that he might have it as well.
Yeah, because it was a murder-suicide, right? He killed his wife, they killed himself.
Yes.
So
only killed one wife. He left the other ones, you know.
He let them be.
For the babies.
So at first I'm like, well, maybe Seth is the one with a mental issue. So I think that was like, I felt like so at one point when she was in the hospital, I felt like, well, Seth has some kind of thing going. At first I thought Seth and Hannah were playing a game. You know, when she went, okay, so, and it reinforced it when she went back and Hannah was acting like she didn't know her. So after that, she went and found Hannah at her house, and she acted like she didn't know her. She didn't know who she was. Have I ever met you? I'm like, oh fuck. I'm like, is it them two running game from the beginning?
Yeah, I thought so too. I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't sure either.
And the author fed us that because earlier Thursday found a photo of Regina where it looked like the woman standing next to her was Hannah.
Right. Yep. Because I was thinking that too. I was like, so do they know each other? Because we never found out, but she just looked like her. She just looked like someone.
But it wasn't her, because when her work friend brought the photo, she was like, is that Hannah right there? And she's like, that lady looks different. So maybe she saw what she wanted to see.
Right. And then in another state of mind, she realized, oh, maybe that wasn't her. Yeah.
Yeah. When she's medicated.
Yeah. Oh.
So, you know, then she comes back. And of course, Hannah is then gone. She's like gone. She breaks into the house, goes in, and there is nothing anywhere. Like it looks like a staged home. And of course, a real estate agent walks in. How'd you get in here? It was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, this is really getting weird now.
Yeah.
It was getting weird.
Yeah, it was. So I think, didn't Regina said, okay, so this is the thing. So Regina calls her again. And she's like, hey, I found Hannah. I found her. I'll meet you over there. But she doesn't say it to her. She leaves a voicemail. I'll meet you over there. This is where she is. So Thursday runs over there thinking, oh, I've got to save her from Seth because he might try to kill her baby too. So she runs up in there. Hannah opens the door. She go in. They start having this conversation, and then Seth comes in. I'm like, oh God, here we go.
Yep. It's about
so
to
you
go
tell
down.
What happens. You tell us what happened from here.
So, you know, she basically, you know, confronts Hannah and says, hey, Seth is, you know, he's done this. He's killed my baby. You know, she's basically trying to save Hannah. And then Seth says, you're crazy. You're stalking us. And why don't you remember me? Or Hannah says that. No. Thursday says, why don't you remember me? And then Hannah tells her, hey, you know, you basically befriended me under false pretenses. And I realized who you were because I think at the breakfast, Seth called her and said, hey, that's Thursday, basically.
Psycho lady's back.
Yeah. So that's when she left the restaurant. And that's why she stayed away from her. And then, so, you know, Seth is basically trying to run interference now because he's cold busted. And he's probably afraid of everything Thursday is about to say because she has nothing to lose now. So he's like, you're crazy. Why are you stalking us? And blah, blah, blah. And he tries to I think he kind of charges her. But all Thursday sees is him trying to hurt Hannah and the baby. And she forgot to mention this. She has a gun because I think her dad had taught her how to shoot and gave her a gun. So she has her gun with her. And she takes out the gun, I believe. And they fight over the gun, right? I believe that's right. They kind of tussle. Yeah. Oh, but before the tussling, I'll go back. Let me go back a little bit. But before the tussling, you know, they're having a conversation about her being the wife. And she's like, I'm the wife. And Hannah's like, what are you talking about? And then that's when Seth says, you're crazy. You were nothing but a mistress. I liked fucking you. And that was it. You were a mistake. And I was like, you just said that? And then Hannah let you say that? Because I'd have been like, you what? But she didn't say anything. He was like,
young and dumb.
Yeah, Thursday. I like fuck you, and that was it. You were a mistake. I had an affair. But I told Hannah about everything, and she knows. And I'm thinking to myself, Hannah's like, I don't think I know everything. Something is missing here. And then she mentions the house, and she was like, the house in my name, because I think you mentioned that her coworker, Laura, right, told her, hey, the house that you told me to go look at where Hannah is, that house is in your name. And Seth didn't tell Hannah that the house that they were in belonged to Thursday. And Hannah, got her heckles up. It's like, why you didn't tell me? Look what you brought into our family. And that's when I think, the explosion of Seth, now Seth, the gig is up, Seth. All the shit has come out now. So now he's going to come towards Thursday, and Thursday thinks he's going to hurt Hannah. And they begin to fight and tussle. She pulls out the gun and shoots him accidentally in the stomach or whatever. And, so now he's, oh, shit. Oops. Sorry. I forgot a piece.
Okay.
So why she mentions her house, she's like, why is, the house is in my name and I'm married to you. In comes Regina. I forgot about Regina. That's important.
Yes, here she shows up. Finally.
Regina shows up and says, no, Thursday, you are not the wife. You are the mistress. And she kind of turns around, and all I can see in my head is Thursday turn around like, where'd you come from? And she's like, yeah, you were the mistress, and you agreed to let Seth live in that house with Hannah.
Yeah.
She agreed to that because she thought she was going to be in the good graces of Seth by allowing him to live in that house with his wife and still have an affair with her. And that's think,
crazy.
Then after that, that's when the fight ensued, and he was shot. And then we move on, and she's in
the hospital.
She's hospitalized.
Yeah. And that's
she was in jail, she was in hospital and jail, right? Because she shot him.
She crazy, yeah. So they did move her back to the hospital though, because Seth lived; he didn't die.
Right.
Damn
it.
Right. But that's when, when she's in the hospital again, that's when some of the things that we were talking about previously start coming to light. For example, Seth didn't pick her up. Her father did. For example, like when she saw, there was another thing that happened that she had totally misinterpreted. There were a couple things that came to light while she was in therapy.
Delusion, right? All the delusional things that we thought were true were not. They were all in her head. Yeah.
So she gets that far, but you think, okay, well, maybe she's healing, whatever. Then a nurse is like, hey, you got a visitor. You don't have to see her if you don't want to, but Yeah. She goes.
Right. Because, you're right. Because in therapy, she talks to the one doctor who had talked to Seth. And he mentioned, she added, Regina is on your visitors list. I think this would be good for you. Do you approve to have her, visit you? And she's like, okay. Yep. So
she goes out and she meets Regina. And I don't remember the entire conversation, but the bottom line is she tricked her.
Yeah.
The bottom line is she tricked her on purpose with that story about the baby and poisoning.
Yeah.
So that she would react. She did exactly what Regina wanted her to do. And when she asked her, why would you do that? She's like, bitch, revenge. You slept with my fucking husband. You stole my husband.
Yeah.
It's a payback.
Yeah, and I'm just like, really? This is what you did, Tarryn?
Yeah.
And that's why I struggle with that. That the pitting against women, women against women, and when
Mm-hmm. He is the
it was,
liar.
he was the
He
root of it.
and this
He
is
was
why I
the
will
married
never.
one, not her.
Yes. Yes, exactly. It was his responsibility to keep his dick in his pants, not
Yeah.
Thursday's.
No. And
2 times
that was,
over, he did that.
thank you. Yep. He gave no dams. And I mean, I think she kind of alluded to it because Thursday had money, and Seth had Regina and him in financial ruin, basically, because Regina is a lawyer, and she was living in a little ratty apartment in she in like a Ford and not to say anything about the car, but you would think a lawyer would have a fancier car, but she was in like a little putt, according to Thursday.
Yeah. And
But they
she
were in
was
financial ruin.
because he did it. He put them in financial ruin.
Right.
Come to find out, Thursday comes from money. He was taking regular deposits out of her account and giving it to Regina.
Right. So he was using her. And that was my other thing, is that this man knew that she was mentally unstable, and he continued in this relationship with her. So after she lost the baby, which we find out was the catalyst to her having an alternate reality, he knew this, but he continues on
for the money.
Right, for the money on into the next relationship until she calls bluff and starts investigating. And now all of a sudden she's doing too much. All you were supposed to do was be Thursday and I have sex with you. You're not supposed to go look at the other wives. But you knew, she was obsessed with Regina. You mentioned it, Seth. So those were some of the things that I did struggle with in the book that
but you didn't even tell the very last part of what happened after Regina admitted she lied and why she lied.
Yeah.
The last scene is Thursday attacking her ass.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
She pounded that. I mean, she basically grabbed that lady by the head and just pounded
bam,
it.
Bam, bam, just bam her head.
Yeah.
And the nurses are like, she's gonna kill her. Her. Like, oh my God.
They were like, help her. She's like, I'm helping myself. And I was like, oh man.
Right.
So here we got 2 women fighting over this idiot. Because of, blaming the woman when it should have been the man that should have been, the person who should have, granted, he got shot. He didn't die. He won't be able to walk his daughter across the aisle, down the aisle.
Yes. Oh, and that's another thing. He was paralyzed.
Yeah.
So she's like, he won't be able to cheat on anybody else.
Yeah, because he jumped on top of her, right? Yeah. Right. He put his knee or his foot in her stomach or something. And that's when she shot him. I was like, ooh. So, you kind of think he probably was a violent man. Granted, to try and stop her from hurting Hannah or himself, but I was just like, wow. But I did have some issues with how Tarryn wrote this story, especially in our time of 2020 and women empowering, it. And I'm just like, out of all, it was just so cliche. We've seen this type of story so many times. And then for you to say in the synopsis, what did they say? Gosh, a horrifying something. No, where was it? She delivers a pulse-pounding, fast-paced suspense novel that will leave you breathless, a thriller you won't be able to put down. And, and they compared it to Gillian Flynn's Gone Girl. And
it's not like the Gone Girl at all.
No. But I'm just like, it's 2020. And a lot of the things that she wrote in this story, besides polygamy, are all cliche. We've seen it all. We have seen it all. I would have preferred, because at one point I thought Thursday was about to step up and say, Seth, I'm going to go talk to the ladies and we're going to get together and turn on his butt. I thought it was going to become like that kind of thing, but in turn, she used mental health, a woman who's mentally unstable, and this is why she's done all this. And I was like,
yeah.
why?
Honestly, what I would have preferred is like if I could rewrite the ending.
Yeah.
You know, they'd all be at the apartment. Regina shows up. They figure out, like, for example, instead of Hannah being dumb, Hannah was a part of it. So it was Hannah and Seth, like, scamming, you know, Thursday or something.
I almost thought that.
Yeah, and maybe even Seth did poison them. Maybe Seth did poison Regina and Thursday. And maybe together, she whips out her gun and shoots somebody. It's a tussle. Somebody else gets stabbed. And before you know it, Regina is a lawyer. She helps her cover up and they walk away into the sunset. And revenge is set. You know, they have their revenge. I would have preferred that.
Yeah. Because, I mean, when Regina asked Hannah, like, when it was over, is everybody okay? I was like, because at one point I was like, so are they all in on this? Trying Thursday, because Regina had a bone in this, in this dog fight. She had something, because without Thursday's money, she's not getting.
She didn't know it was Thursday's money.
No, she didn't, unless she found out later. But I mean, she's a lawyer. She's not dumb. But I mean, I know I'm going a little too far into that. But I did think Regina may have had something to do, because she was like, "Are you guys okay?" Because I knew somebody was going to get hurt. Yeah, because you sent him over there. You sent you sent a mentally unstable woman who you basically fed misinformation, which increased her manic. So yeah, I was just like, it was very cliche. A lot of the things she used, it was like, we've seen all this. I thought this was going to be something new that I've never seen before.
And there's this review on Scribd. It says, standard Tarryn Fisher. Women are conniving and crazy. Men are terrible, but not as terrible as the women they've driven crazy. Got it.
Wow.
Because it's like you pick someone who's already a little off balanced anyway, and you fuck with them, and they get a little more crazy.
Exactly.
And then you wonder what the hell happened. Like, dude, you did that.
You're freaking poking the bear. What you think?
Yeah.
What do you think? And my dad used to say, don't poke the bear. Don't poke the bear. You keep on poking the bear, guess what? You're going to get your ass kicked. And, and I didn't. I felt like, and I haven't read any Tarryn Fisher before, so I didn't know until, after reading this book, we found out she wrote romance. And then I read because I think she did like a little series, and it was a 3-part. And I think it was, again, a little love triangle. And who comes out on top is the man, not the ladies.
Yeah, but the man.
So, yeah, I was just like...
Yeah, I didn't like the woman hate as well, because honestly, Seth is to blame. He is the person who started all of this by having an affair, especially affair with someone that he knows isn't all there. Yeah. And I think the second time around, he said, sure, I can mess with her, because guess what? She's easy target. I can get what I want, and I can get this money, because, if you're not all there, you're easy to manipulate, apparently.
Right. And she agreed. So he basically was like, oh, she agreed to it. So, it's not like I've tricked her. She said, oh, sure, you can live in this house, but then you don't tell your wife. So and the doctor even said that Seth had issues, but we're here to talk about your issues, And I was just like, yeah, he has a whole lot of issues. Because remember, they said he was sexually abused as a child. So then again, she threw everything but the kitchen sink in this book, no trigger warnings.
No.
Which, I mean, not all books have trigger warnings, but, she had the sexual abuse, schizophrenia, the mental health. And then I also felt like in this time of mental health, she made this, mental health thing seem like it was just, I didn't like it. I didn't like how she used the mental health because, and I mean, granted, the lady was a loose cannon, but for you to use that and
I feel like
to
I would
put
have
all
rather
these
her.
women in there.
Yeah, I just would have rather her just been like trying to sort it out and him just gaslighting her the whole way versus
Exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, it's almost like you're picking on somebody with a freaking disability. And it's not like you are. You know, it's like you're a bully. You're picking with the first time, shame on you because you didn't know. You know what I mean? Like when you first dated her, you didn't know. The loss of the baby triggered it. But that second time, come on now. And it seems like you had been messing around with her. It wasn't like it was just a couple months. This has been a while.
Oh, yeah. Years.
You know?
Years.
Yeah. So I didn't like that. I was like, she could have really, like you said, the gaslighting would have been perfect. But you did not have to use somebody with a mental illness for this story. Because I'm sorry, you
honestly,
can gaslight me and poke me, and I'm mentally stable, and I'm probably going to be Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm Thursday. You know what I mean? You didn't have to use mental health.
No, you didn't. You didn't need it at all.
Nope.
And how's this woman a nurse, and she's like not taking her meds?
Yeah, and I mean, it does happen. It does happen.
Yeah,
you know,
but it just seems like what's the word I'm looking for? It just seems
cliche or convoluted. I don't know.
Careless with like dealing with mental health and stuff.
Yeah, she did. I really did. I thought she did too. I didn't like it at all.
No.
I think she could have picked, you know, like I said, she didn't even have to have a disability. Just you just got three women.
She just had been plain old vengeful because there's plenty of movies out there where the woman is not crazy. She she crazy, but she knows full well what she's doing. And she don't care.
Because I mean, even Thursday mentioned, you know, once she started realizing things, what was the one line? And I thought, and I didn't like that line either. She said, I allowed things to happen to me. You know, and I mean, I get it, but here's a woman who's mentally ill. And for you to say, I allowed things to happen to me, she doesn't even realize it. I can say with me, you know what, I kept falling for the same old stupid man, stupid guy, you know, again and again and again. But this is a woman who is mentally unstable. And
I mean, she went to the point where she's lying to her parents about being married to this guy.
Yeah. Yep.
She's making full up stories, like full on made up stories.
Yep. And then another
That's
line
one
was,
step away from making up an invisible boyfriend or husband, like he doesn't really exist at all.
Yep. All in my head. And she was like, I'm itemizing my weaknesses. And it's like, oh gosh. Okay. All right, Tarryn. But that script review, that says a lot. Because like I said, I have not read any of her books. I just knew she had some kind of romance. It was a 3-series and it was a triangle. And it was kind of, you know, that same trope of women fighting over a man and who comes out on top, basically, or who doesn't look as bad as the women who are the conniving. Is that what they called her in script? So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It says the other book I guess she wrote in this genre was The Wrong Family. It looks like another of that situation, like not the same, but someone who has a perfect marriage, perfect life. Yeah, but no, thank you.
Right.
Especially if this review is correct and this is standard fare for her.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be disappointed with the end as well. I mean, I really feel like that could have been paid off in a much better way where I wouldn't have been so annoyed by it.
Right. Yeah. I do too. That it was just so quick and I don't know. It just felt like it just, you know how you go to a cliff and you just go, I'm just like, this is the end? This is it? I would have even preferred if she just told her, yep, I did it, or Regina just coming to say, yeah, I just came to tell you that, yep, I did it just out of revenge. Just sorry. You're here for a couple years. See ya.
Well, she did get a revenge until she got jumped on. I mean, her cheating ex is now paralyzed. The woman who stole her man is in the loony bin.
Yeah, but she said she didn't want that for Seth. Again, here's a man who cheated on you. And I mean, I wouldn't want that on my husband.
What would you expect? I mean, no one expects someone to be gun wielding, right? But in this day and age, you never know what people have or what they're going to do. She could have stabbed him to death instead. I mean, you send somebody that you deem as crazy. You sick someone on your ex-husband, basically.
Yep. So you're really responsible too, because you don't know what that lady was capable of.
Right. Yeah. You didn't told her he poisoned her.
I mean, again, she did lose a baby, but it wasn't due to poison. Oh my God.
Right. Yeah. But now she's thinking, I lost that baby and now I can never have kids because you poisoned me.
And again, you just triggered her again.
Yeah.
Ugh. And I don't know.
On the upside, I gotta admit, Lauren Fortgang was amazing. I had no I think she elevated the story.
She was awesome. I mean, you could feel the anxiety of Thursday. I felt like the jitter. I could feel
her agitation.
Her being anxious. Yeah, and the anxiousness. Yeah, I could feel it. This was a very good narrator. I had no problems listening to her at all. Mm-mm. None. I felt she had great inflection. She had emotion. I mean, I felt like I could see the story through her narration. It was like watching a movie. She made the 100%. Book.
100%. She did.
She made the book.
Because I felt everything Thursday was dealing with, and it was making me frustrated. I was feeling frustrated, like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah, like when she began to question herself, you could actually feel her pause, and I mean, not just in her voice, but it was just kind of like you could, like, the wheels turned in her head, like, was that? I'm not. Yeah, she was a really good narrator. I'll have to look up some of her other books she's narrated.
I think I've heard her before. Her name seems so familiar to me. I'm just going to click on her name and see what else comes up. Oh, yeah. Oh, she did some Jennifer Armentrout books that I've read.
Oh, you've read.
Or listened to. She did the Lee Bardugo book, Ninth House, that I listened to.
Okay, so
I've listened to her a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's a very good narrator.
Yeah.
And without her, I feel like I'm not sure I would have been able to tolerate this book at all if the narrator was not fabulous.
Yep. I think so too. I would have gave up a lot sooner. Or, just kind of like drag it out even longer. Like I said, I just slowed my pace on that just so I could have, it fresh in my mind. Because I even listened to the ending again just so I could be sure. Because again, like we mentioned earlier, we believe her goal was to make us feel as readers just as delusional as Thursday was. And I did feel that. And I, even like you were said, I think I might have mishmashed the plot up. And it's because she started just throwing stuff at us. So
she did.
Yeah. So,
that last 15-20%, it was like this, no, that, this, that, this, that, this, that. It was just everything, just throw everything plus the kitchen sink in there.
Mm-hmm. And so I went back and listened. I think I went to maybe chapter 35 or 36, and I found some stuff. I'm like, I missed that the first time. So yeah, the narrator was really good. But I did want to mention before we move on, I had watched an interview with Tarryn Fisher, and she said when she wrote this book, she wrote it from the 3 stages of women as we go through womanhood. So, Regina was the older, I believe, the oldest. And I believe Thursday probably was the second, and Hannah being the youngest. And she said she wrote the first wife as insecurity.
Okay.
So that would be Regina. The second wife she wrote as bitterness, which is Thursday. And Hannah was willful ignorance. Would you agree? Did you see those characteristics?
I did see those characteristics, especially willful ignorance. I couldn't get it out. I couldn't even get it out. But I could definitely see that. She was definitely at the end there looking real dumb.
Yeah. Like she believed everything he said, basically. I mean, she would act like, this is what you did. You brought us in here. This is what you brought into our family. But she didn't, stand up and say, no. It was willful.
Yeah, definitely. And I can see some of that. But I want to know what stage of womanhood, who deals with those stages? I don't have those stages. Those aren't my stages.
Yeah, she said she wrote them in 3 stages of women. And I don't know if it was the different ages, but no, because the 3 stages, insecurity, bitterness.
As the oldest person being insecure.
Yeah, she said wife number 1, she wrote as insecurity.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's probably the oldest.
Okay, so that's I don't know if she's stage.
I don't know if it would be the first stage, or would it be, after you've been married for a while, and now a younger woman has come in, you become insecure?
Maybe.
Yeah.
So what's the second one again? What was
bitterness? Bitterness.
So the second wife is bitter? Is that what she's trying to say?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I know.
Maybe. I don't know. I've not been a second wife.
No. And this is the thing. The second wife really wasn't a damn second wife.
She wasn't at all. She was just a mistress. I can see the mistress being bitter because the mistress never gets attention. The mistress is always the back person. You don't get first.
She doesn't
anything.
Get the holidays. You get the scraps. But maybe when she did this interview, she probably just said the wives in the stage because she didn't want to give out a spoiler. Yeah. So like we said, she wasn't a wife anyway. She was a mistress. So yes, bitterness definitely. Because I'm not getting you. I'm not getting all of you.
I can't even get a freaking vacation.
No, because your wife is pregnant. And she might have the baby during our vacation time. Why the hell you even asked me then? You knew she was pregnant.
Right. Why are you playing?
Her due date.
Honestly, and I can't even understand Thursday a little bit. Like, why would you want someone that is literally unavailable to you? Like, okay,
she was insecure.
She was. And like the first time, okay, I can, even though I still think it's wrong that she had an affair with a married man, I can and I do think it's his responsibility not to have the affair, but I can see her being attracted to someone and wanting something and almost getting that. But I can't understand the second time. Why would he left you, moved on. Why would you want him back in that same capacity where you're the mistress?
Mentally unstable. Yeah. She was mentally unstable. She had created an alternate, ego or universe or life that I'll just have him, even if I got to have pieces of him. Oof, poor baby.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Hard pass.
Yeah, because he's a piece of shit. He was an asshat.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the funny thing is nobody, when I scroll through some of these reviews, like, and even on Goodreads, barely anyone is talking about how awful this man is.
Yeah. That's what I mean. You want to talk about this man, granted the baby sent her over, but you can best believe what Seth did took her over the top. Oh, you can't have my baby? Oh, our baby died and you can't have my baby? You're no good to me. Mm-hmm. You're damaged goods, basically.
Yeah, she needed therapy after that. Like for a long time, she needed therapy.
Well, I think she did. Didn't she she was hospitalized for that.
Yeah, because she tried to kill herself in the bathroom or something.
Yep, because he was like, I think she said something about he hospitalized me again, or he put me here again, or something. So
Oh
yeah.
my God.
So yeah. So
Oh my God,
right.
I
So nobody
cannot.
mentions how crazy this man is. We just want to talk about Thursday,
Right.
and nobody wants to talk about Regina and how vengeful she was. I mean, granted, she broke up your marriage, but your husband, baby. Not only that, then you saw what he did with his second wife. You know he a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
But yeah, you still go after the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Women always have that problem. They always go after the woman. I don't care if she is butt naked with her finger come hither. It's your husband's responsibility to walk away.
Yep, because he knows
He's wearing
I'm
the
married.
ring.
Yep.
Right.
I have a wife at home.
Like,
so,
stop giving these dudes a pass.
Yep.
I don't understand that.
They won't give women a pass. Men struggle if a woman is having an affair or does something
they
crazy.
act like the world has crumbled. How dare you?
Yep, my manhood. No, yeah.
But it's okay for them to cheat, though, and it's all good.
Oh, yeah. Apparently more than once.
Don't you dare do it. Mm-hmm.
No. Oh, so sorry, Tarryn. Probably won't be reading any of your books. Sorry.
Yeah, that's just not my speed.
No.
I think, like I said, there was potential there. I just think the way it ended.
It was. Like that first half, I was there.
Yeah.
I was there. But when
Yeah, when you turn that page and you're like, oh, she crazy. I kind of just did this massive eye roll, like, oh.
Right. Here we go. We're going to use this trope.
Okay. Right.
I'm like, yeah. And then you hype it up. Oh, this is something new. This new thriller you've never seen before. And I might have seen that somewhere else. It's not in Goodreads, but I think I remember, oh, it's, exciting and pulse pounding, something you've never seen. I was like, yeah, right.
No, not at all.
Yeah. And then when I saw the blurred, and when we look at the cover, I know we probably talked about that, and you see the blurred, we're getting better with covers and trying to figure out, but this one we just didn't see. The blurred is just,
Yeah, all the women are blurred. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So that says a lot now.
Absolutely, it does. So let's rate this thing, and then we'll wrap up this conversation.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so what would you rate The Wives?
A 2.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was mad. She pissed me off with the mental health. Like, really, lady? Come on.
When I was done with it, I wasn't as mad as you. I was definitely perturbed enough to text you right away, like, oh, this ending.
Yeah, the ending, and it sucked.
Yeah. But when I first finished it, I thought, well, I guess I could give it a 3. But I feel like breaking it down and discussing it more has modified that some. So I'd probably give it a 2 now. Because like just talking through, you know what I mean? Because like sometimes feelings
after you read it, you're just like, okay,
just verbalize. Yep. Once you verbalize those and it comes out more, it's like either you end up liking a book more or less after you talk about it.
And we've had both of those experiences before. But between mental health and blaming the women and not Seth, no. You will not. Nope, not on my watch. Not for me. Nope. No. I'm not going there. Nope.
I mean, he did become paralyzed, but he didn't get it. He still didn't. No. Wasn't quite right. All right, so we are going to put the wives to bed. Next month, we are going to be talking about Blacktop Wasteland. That's our next read. So grab it right away and get busy on it. Let me see the author again. I can't remember.
S.A. Crosby.
Yes, S.A. Crosby. Cosby. S-C-O-S-B-Y.
Oh, is it Cosby?
Yes, okay. I threw an R in there. Like, that's right.
I did too.
So check that out. Join us on Shelf Addiction Official on Facebook. We can talk about it in book club. So, because you've already missed the book club for the wives. If you're listening to this podcast, you missed the book club. So join the group, and then you can join us for book club. And then, we can hear what you have to say.
Glad to have you.
Absolutely. And then, of course, you always feel free to send in an email or, hit me up on Twitter or Instagram and share, what you want to say about this book as well. I'd love to hear your opinion. And if you think we're overreacting, tell us. I want to know why.
Yes. I would love to hear that.
Yes. Tell us all the things. So I think we're done. Are we done, Classy?
I want to say one more thing about it.
Okay.
If she was going to go into the plural or polygamy relationship, she could have delved more into it. She just, she threw and that was another thing that I didn't like. You're going to call this a plural relationship or whatever. And she just kind of skimmed over it. It was just like, you just switched and baited us with this. Granted, it was in the woman's mind, but
it was a switch and bait.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right.
So we are done. We will catch you next month. And of course, check us out on Patreon if you want to see the after show. Take care, guys. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.